Hey there, movie fans, or I should say, hey there, Academy Awards fans. Welcome to Collider Videos. For your consideration, now, we've been doing the show now for 5 months. I remember when we first started doing this moment felt like it was a million years away. But now here we are, Jeff Sneider, Perri Nemiroff.
Wow.
This is the most important episode ever of Collider FYC for your consideration, because all of the discussions that we've been having for these last 5 months, following the ups and downs of award season, following the movies that were in or out or back in again, nominees that came and went, winners of other guilds, we followed it all so that we can come to you right now to bring to you our ballots. We are all going to fill out our ballots. We are going to pick the winners. You can listen to all of us, or one of us, or two of us, whatever your choice is. But this is the ultimate episode of Collider FYC, because it all comes down to this. Who's going to win this coming Sunday, February 24th, at the Academy Awards? We are going to go through all 24 categories right now. Joining me, as always, the amazing Perri Nemiroff, the mighty Jeff Sneider. Oh man, these shows have been so much fun. So let's just get right to it, and then make sure you stick around at the end of the show, because we are going to have our exclusive interview with Free Solo's Alex Honnold and co-directors Chai Vasarhelyi and Jimmy Chin. That's at the end of today's episode of Collider FYC. But right now, what do you say? Let's get right to it, right?
I'm ready.
Okay, the first
DJ.
category is, this is great. Best actor in a supporting role. I think this one's pretty easy, right?
I'd say so.
Okay, who we going with there, Perri?
We're going with Mahershala. I think he has just crushed it the entire season. This is one of the easiest categories to predict, I think.
Okay, Jeff?
We're not all going with Mahershala.
What?
I'm kidding. I'm going with Mahershala.
Right, just from the beginning, he's just going to be the contrary.
Of course he's going to troll us here.
Mahershala, I like this. He's got it in the
been winning
bag.
every other supporting actor award that he's been nominated for, and this is a performance that actually showed more range than his Oscar-winning turn in Moonlight. It also is more of a lead role than a supporting role, but Mahershala is going to win actor in a supporting role. I think you could bet the house on it. The next category is Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Jeff, who you going with?
I got to go with Vice. I mean, I think this one's pretty easy. I don't know if many voters have really seen Border. But yeah, the job that they did on Christian Bale, obviously remarkable. It kind of was the driving force behind that performance. I think Vice has it in the bag.
All right,
Yeah,
Perri?
I'm right there with you. I think this is a lock for Vice, especially when we have Vice going up against two others that I don't believe either of them have secured a single nomination beyond this category. Am I right? Or
Mary Queen of Scots had costumes, no?
did it?
Did it?
It's possible, but anyway, yeah, it did have costumes.
Yeah, it
but
did have
anyway, we
costumes.
still are talking about Vice, which has a whole bunch of nominations, versus Mary's Queen of Scots with 2, and then Border with 1.
So here's the thing about Vice. So as far as the hair and makeup is concerned, what hair and makeup is to Vice this year is what hair and makeup was to Darkest Hour last
agree.
year. Even if the movie wasn't as good, and even if the performance of Christian Bale wasn't as good as Gary Oldman's, the hair and makeup in this category is a lock. Absolutely. All right, let's move along. The third category we are going to predict now is costume design. Perri, who are you going with?
This one is throwing me for a little bit of a loop because I do think The Favorite has an edge here because it is a period piece, and in past years the Academy does go for that kind of movie. But I actually think I'm going to tick off the Black Panther box, because I think if Black Panther gets a win anywhere, I think this might be one of its best chances.
Jeff?
Well, I know Scott caught me looking at Chris Tapley's Oscar prediction over on Variety, and he says the favorite is the favorite, and that says that the Academy favors period porn, so to speak. But I agree with Perri. I'm going with Black Panther in this category. I think Ruth Carter is like the one costume designer whose name I know in this race.
Excellent
I
point.
think that she did a great job with Black Panther, just creating really vibrant costumes that stood out. And the favorite, there's not one costume that I can really remember like in my head, and I think that could split the period vote with Mary Queen of Scots, so I'm going with Black Panther.
That's a great point. That is a great point. And by the way, big shout out to Chris Tapley, because he predicted directing nominations for Cold War So he was right on point with that.
Oh, Chris
Tapley
is one of my
Variety.
favorite pundits. I'm
Yeah,
just
he's a
saying.
great
I'm
pundit.
not just blindly ripping off Chris Tapley over here, Mantz.
Well, we are 3 for 3 because I'm going with both of you. I think
Oh,
Black
wow.
Panther,
Wow.
and
That
here's
surprises
why.
me.
I agree with your points on Black Panther, but I also think that here's a movie that got 7 nominations, including Best Picture. But after Best Picture, all the other nominations are below the line, and they got to give it something. I mean, it deserves everything that it's nominated for, and the costume design, just the whole world that it created. It's not like it was Avengers, where it's just a superhero movie with all these other superheroes. The whole world of Wakanda was created for this film, and I agree. Ruth Carter, she's the only name of this in this category that I know. So we are in cahoots with costume design for that. For Black Panther documentary feature, I think the hits are going to keep on coming. Perri.
All right, I'm going with Free Solo for this one. I was thinking maybe RBG, just given the current climate and how popular she is right now. But then when you factor in the recent BAFTA win, I feel like that just completely tipped the scale for me. I'm going with Free Solo. I did watch Hale County after you said that it was such a great film. It's very, very different. It's very, I will admit that I struggled through it a little because there isn't really, there's basically no narrator. It's just existing in that world for a little while. And I commend it for what it tried to do in that respect. Was not for me. I am locking in Free Solo.
Jeff.
I think that this category is too close to call, honestly.
You are not allowed to say that. No way.
I'm going to give a prediction here. I'm just saying it's a tough call. I watched RBG, the documentary. It was good. There was nothing remarkable about it, but like Free Solo is definitely a better film. But I guess this is the part of me where cynical Jeff Sneider, and he's going to say, even though Free Solo is clearly the bigger achievement, I don't know if it's a great film just because what he's doing is so impossible. I think the Academy's gonna go with RBG. I think it's her year. I think this is her time. It's just it's too much.
See, here's the thing. So a week ago or 2 weeks ago, when we went through documentaries, and I had said that for that reason, that RBG was probably going to win because it's about something, because Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she's like the woman of the moment because of what she stands for. This is a movie that represents a whole lot more than just its subject matter. It's of what it stands for. But Free Solo, it is kicking butt right now, being back in theaters, especially on IMAX screens. Not only did it win Best Documentary at the BAFTA Awards, that's where we talked about it, but it also won at the 66th Motion Picture Sound Editors Golden Reel Awards. It won Outstanding Achievement in Sound Editing. And then also at the Cinema Audio Society, the CAS, they gave it Best Documentary Feature as well. So it's racking up awards.
My head is saying go with Free Solo. I think that will probably win, but I'm going out on a limb with my prediction.
You're going with your heart.
And I'm saying RBG just because of the climate.
Okay, so you're saying RBG.
I'm going Free Solo.
You're going Free Solo, and I am switching my vote to Free Solo because of this conversation.
Okay, Free
All
Solo
right,
is the
how about
official
that?
FYC choice.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to sound editing. Actually, I just want to read the nominees here. Black Panther, Bohemian Rhapsody, First Man, A Quiet Place, and Roma. Perri, who you going with?
All right, here I think I'm going with Bohemian Rhapsody, bringing up the Sound Editors Organization. They clearly loved Bohemian Rhapsody in both the editing and mixing categories, I believe. So I think that one's getting the edge for me, especially also BAFTAs too. Let's throw that in, and I think it's getting it.
Okay, Jeff?
I am with Perri. I'm going to go with Bohemian Rhapsody. I tend to just pick one movie for both the Sound Awards and then just hope that I get 1 out of 2. I'll take that as long as I don't miss both.
Wouldn't it make more sense? Wait, you said you picked one for both categories?
I pick one movie for
And you
both
pick them in
categories
Okay.
and just hope that movie wins one of the 2 awards.
Well,
It's not a bad way to think about it.
What?
more than any other year, I think this is the year where I finally realized the difference between sound editing, which is what we're picking now, and sound mixing. And I can't explain it because it's too technical, and I would sound like a fool if I tried to explain it. But so you're going with, for sound editing, you're going with also
With Bohemian Rhapsody, yeah.
Okay, so 2 Bohemians.
Although I acknowledge that I think it has a better chance at sound mixing than
Okay,
editing.
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But for sound editing, I'm going with The Quiet Place, because even though Bohemian did win those awards, Perri, that you mentioned at the Golden Reel Awards, the outstanding achievement in sound editing for effects and Foley went to A Quiet Place. And that is a film, just like Bohemian Rhapsody, not as popular around the world, but it was a very, very big hit. And I think that, I mean, the sound or lack thereof in that movie was a narrative driving force of the film. And I think that it will get recognized for sound editing.
Hey,
so you're going
I like
Bohemian, I'm
if,
going.
If I could give the award myself, I would probably give it to A Quiet Place for that reason, or for that matter, First Man.
So
I agree with you
Did
completely.
Scott change our minds at all? Are we going with Bohemian Rhapsody?
I'm still sticking
All
with
right,
Bohemian.
the official FYC pick is Bohemian Rhapsody, although I acknowledge that Scott has a great point for The Quiet Place, and I still think First Man has a decent shot.
Yeah.
too.
It definitely does, and I think First Man will have a better shot at another award that we'll get to.
Well,
Okay.
funny thing, First Man in these two sound categories, I was busy debating between Bohemian and First Man in both of them,
Right.
and I wound up going with Bohemian. in
Well,
both of them.
now we move on to sound mixing. And so sound mixing, the nominees
Yes.
were Black Panther, Bohemian Rhapsody, First Man, Roma, and A Star Is Born. Perry, would you go with this one?
Not because this is Jeff's tactic, but I really did go with Bohemian Rhapsody in both sound categories. That's my pick for mixing as well.
Jeff?
I went with Bohemian Rhapsody again in both categories. I really wish A Star Is Born was winning this, but yeah, I don't think you can argue with just the box office results. This is the biggest performing drama of all time, the most successful drama of all time. It's crazy.
I'm going with Bohemian Rhapsody in this category, in sound mixing, also because at the Cinema Audio Society, re-recording mixer Paul Massey did win that award for live action. So that was for Bohemian Rhapsody.
So we think Bo Rap definitely has the edge over First Man in this category.
In this category,
That's
I agree.
what I'm saying,
I
yeah.
agree. Okay, let's move on. The next category is production design. Real quick, the nominees: Black Panther, The Favorite, First Man, Mary Poppins Returns, and Roma. Jeff, would you go with them? Production design.
I am going with The Favorite on this one. I just thought that those long hallways and the grounds and everything, I thought it was great. I know, Wakanda is lurking here, the production design behind that whole world, but yeah, I got to go with The Favorite.
Perry?
Going back to our conversation about costume design, I'm basically flipping my answer here, and I'm giving it to The Favorite. Again, I think
Split.
that the production design in that movie served the story and the character arc so beautifully, and it's so beautifully shot too. But this is my pick for production design, The Favorite.
The Favorite. So that's my favorite in this category, is along with you and both of you. So yeah, we all are in cahoots with The Favorite for production design. Now we move on to foreign language film. Now this is really up between two films here. Which one did you go with, Jeff?
Roma.
Okay.
Because
Why Roma,
I think,
not a Cold
listen,
War?
there's going to be plenty. I know that there's going to be plenty of people voting for Roma for Best Picture. You think that theoretically those people would also vote for Roma for foreign language, or that the people who aren't voting for Roma for Best Picture are giving it some kind of makeup award in foreign language. I just don't see how Cold War has the stuff to overtake it. I know it got a cinematography and a director nod, but I like Roma to run away with this
All right,
award.
Perry.
I'm with Jeff on this. I'm giving it to Roma, and I'm going to keep some of my thoughts to myself right now and save it for a different category coming later in the show. But I'm locking in Roma. Cold War is the only possible upset, but I don't really think it has a chance.
I agree. I think Roma's the one to beat here. And listen, all 23 categories except for Best Picture are just voted for, whatever gets the most votes. Best Picture is a different deal. We've discussed this on another show, a previous show that we did here on Collider FYC. But I agree, for the reasons that both of you pointed out, Roma will win the Oscar.
And it's a better film to me. Did you like Roma more than Cold War?
I liked Roma more than Cold War.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Perry?
I still haven't seen Cold War. I'm
my God,
I'm
okay.
taking it with me to Hawaii this week.
Oh, okay.
That's my last
Wow,
one left.
wow.
I opted to finally catch up on At Eternity's Gate this weekend.
Oh, okay. Well, it's only 88
almost
minutes.
all the shorts.
Oh, great.
Almost all done.
All right, well then
Well,
we'll
get to those.
I know. I'm so excited to weigh in on that finally.
Moving on to Best Actress in a Supporting Role: Amy Adams, Marina de Tavira, surprise nominee, Regina King, Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz. Perry, who do you pick?
Really? This one seems like a no-brainer to me. Regina King, even though she didn't win everything across the board, the two things she didn't win were things she wasn't even nominated for.
Correct.
I really do think she's going to run away with this.
Jeff?
Yeah, I think so too. I just don't think that any of the other performances are strong enough to win an Oscar. And Regina King's is really the only one that is, and so she takes it by default.
I completely agree on all counts. Yeah, she didn't win at the SAG Awards. She wasn't nominated for supporting actress, but Emily Blunt was, and Emily Blunt won that award, and I was very, very happy about her supporting actress win for A Quiet Place there. All right, this is where it gets very tricky, I have to say. I always mess up my ballot on the shorts.
Not this first one.
Not this first one, though, right? Best animated short film, and the winner will be Perri.
Bow. So regardless of what I think of some of these other ones that I've watched, that is the one that is undoubtedly the most seen in this entire category, and I think that's the reason it's going to run away with it.
Jeff?
The Academy is going to bow to Bow.
It is going to bow. And also, listen, the animated short Bow was better than the feature film that followed it, which was Incredibles 2. And I loved Incredibles 2. I'm not dissing Incredibles 2.
Sounded like
As I move into the next category, which is animated feature film, where Incredibles 2 was nominated, along with Isle of Dogs, Mirai, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Perri, come on.
Here is another done deal. This is Spider-Verse's award. It has, really, has it lost anything this entire season? It gets one win after the next. It has this locked.
Is it a done deal? Because Chris Tapley says there could be an upset.
Seriously?
I love Chris Tapley, but you're giving way too much credit here now.
I'm just saying, Vance. No,
well, now I'm curious. What would the upset be?
Incredibles 2.
No way.
I think that Spider-Man has this. I went to lunch with a big producer, and I asked him, like, what was your favorite film this year? And he was like, honestly, the film I was most impressed by was the animated Spider-Man movie. Like, if I had been behind that, I would, be really happy with myself.
Well, it has won almost everything. What it didn't win was at the Cinema Audio Society Awards. The animated feature actually went to Isle of Dogs. But every other award, including the Annie Awards, where it was nominated for 7 Annie Awards, and it won all 7 Annie Awards that it was nominated for, including Best Animated Feature. This Spider-Verse movie does whatever a spider can, and then some. That's the pick here. Now, we're getting into a category that, all right, visual effects. Perri?
I am going with Avengers Infinity War on this one, and mainly because of how well it did with the Visual Effects Society Awards. That's kind of what tipped the scale for me. If I was personally picking a movie to give this honor to, it would be First Man.
I know.
But I also think that Infinity War is deserving of this nomination, but personally, when it comes to me assessing visual effects in a movie, I tend to be a little more wowed by visual effects that I don't realize are actually visual effects, if you know what I'm saying, versus big, gigantic superhero set pieces. That's my personal opinion,
though. Jeff?
Black Panther's not nominated here, so I'm going to go with the other Marvel movie and agree with Perri. Avengers Infinity War takes it. I think just a lot of these awards are not necessarily best, whatever it is. It's as much as it is most, whatever it is. And I, there's just so many visual effects in Infinity War. First Man, it's a lot more subtle. As good as the work is in that film, I just don't think that it's not quite as memorable as Infinity War.
The subtlety of First Man is why I think First Man will actually win.
Okay.
Because I agree with your points on Avengers. I mean, it's a big, splashy superhero movie, throws in everything, including the kitchen sink, and what a payoff. I mean, it's a great, great superhero movie. The special effects are incredible. But the subtleties of making a film about Apollo 11 like this, you think about that, they don't make Saturn V rockets anymore. And that launch was amazing. The walk on the moon was amazing. The scene in the X-15 at the beginning of the movie where he's skipping in the atmosphere, there's so much to that film where you really don't realize, like, are these really special effects? Is this like actual footage? And when you see the documentary on Apollo 11, I mean,
I'm not calling you crazy here. So does Scott's argument pull you to the dark side?
Wait, maybe you're the dark side.
Not enough. Not enough. I really do think that the decline in buzz regarding everything with First Man over the course of the entire award season. Even though it got the nominations, I still get the feeling like it's not going to walk away with any wins.
I think if someone else was making the argument on behalf of First Man, I'd be inclined to listen more. But because it's Scott Mantz, I think he's being blinded by his love for Damien Chazelle. I don't think that the Academy likes this movie. And
what are you talking about? My love for Damien Chazelle?
Right, and I don't.
Really?
I don't think that they're going to go.
Am I not subtle about this? I'm still
going with Avengers: Infinity War.
Yes, we are.
You two are going with Avengers, and I'm probably
noted.
I am probably voting with my heart on this one, but I am voting with my head as well.
That's what we want. That's what we want on this show, man.
Everyone watching, hit me up on Twitter right now at Movie Mantz. Let me know. Do you think I'm crazy for picking First Man for visual effects, or are you going with these guys? You going with P. Nemiroff or the Sneider? Tweet them. Let us know what you think is going to win in the comments. Tweet us. Let us know. Okay, I'm going with First Man here.
All right.
Where is it? Okay, First Man. Okay, let's move on.
We got to move the show along. Come on.
We do.
All right, here we go. Film editing. This is a very, very big category here. I think because of one film in particular that was really, truly saved by an editor. Who are you voting for on editing, Perri?
I know what you're getting at here, and it's a good point. This was one of the ones that I was having the most trouble with, and I think what wound up tipping the scale for me in the end was the BAFTA, which would make my pick Vice.
But okay, all right.
I'm going
Jeff?
with Vice.
This is another category that's very tough here. I think that you're right that the editors kind of want to make a hero out of John Ottman, who sort of saved this movie.
Yes.
However, I'm going with Perri. I think that Vice and Hank Corwin are going to get it. I think it's, like I said before, it's not necessarily the best, but it's the most editing. Vice has that really, it's a flashy kind of style. Bohemian Rhapsody, I don't know. If it was a new editor, I think it would stand a better chance. But John Ottman, who's sort of been around Singer for his entire run, I think that the whole situation has tainted him a little bit. I think he's going to suffer the consequences.
See, I think that John Ottman's win at the Ace Eddie Awards for Bohemian Rhapsody is a strong signal that people recognize, especially Academy voters recognize, that everyone knows that Bryan Singer was let go with 2 weeks left to go, and everybody knows that Dexter Fletcher came in to direct those last 2 weeks. But everybody also knows that John Ottman really did. He had wrapped his head around the film. He had a rhythm with Singer after working with him back in the college days.
And it is the biggest drama ever. So, listen, you're totally right. That's why it's here on my sheet is one of the toughest races of the night.
See, for me, film editing in this category is this year's second best director category. And I think that I know it's weird to say it that way.
Here's the question, though. Are voters, because it's the Academy at large that's going to be voting for this award, are voters really going to take their cues from the ACE, Guild Awards? How many people are even paying attention? Perri, how many people filled out their ballot before that show was held?
See, this just complicates matters even more because, even just using that kind of mentality and applying to, our predictions, basically, I do wonder how many people are going to specifically focus in on rebranding this the second best director race and instead either just make a decision on whether or not they liked Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
everything
why
happening
I think
around
Vice
it.
is going to win.
But see, you bring up a great point. Everyone is voting for the winners. Actors are voting for editing.
Yeah.
Actors will also vote for Rami Malek. So
we'll get there.
The movie will already be in the forefront. You know what I mean?
I feel like pocket all those arguments.
But you see, that's why I think that John Ottman is a hero in this case, and I think enough people will know that.
I think that narrative might weigh more heavily in Rami Malek's category than it will here.
I
but
agree.
Also thinking about Vice and its chance in all these other categories, this is Vice's one big shot, in my mind at least, and that's why I feel like it's another reason why it's going to get a lot of love here.
So you're getting Vice.
I'm sticking with Vice.
I'm sticking with Vice as well.
All right, I'm going with Bohemian Rhapsody on film editing. And for everyone watching, hit me up on Twitter right now. Let me know. Am I out of my friggin' mind for picking Bohemian
time.
Rhapsody?
We got to move this along, man.
Moving along here.
We'll just leave the comments at the end of the show.
Okay, let's move along to documentary short subject. Come on, this is our moment of truth here.
I know. That's why we got to make the most of it.
Okay, so I think this is down to 3 films: Period, End of Sentence, Endgame, or Black Sheep. Then I finally got around to watching Black Sheep. Oh my, that is one heck of a documentary. If you see anything in this category, I highly recommend them all. But Black Sheep is phenomenal. It has so much style, and the interview that connects the entire story is so freaking powerful, and the way they shoot it and the way they slip in certain black frames at just the right time to make the whole thing even more powerful. That is an exceptional short documentary. It should win, and I think it will win.
I agree. Jeff?
Did you see it?
Yeah, I did see it.
Okay, so you basically
I'm agreeing with Perri.
I have not seen any of the films in this category. This is what I've heard most from voters and from pundits, that Black Sheep really is the standout movie. I will be honest, the Lisa Tabak stuff is throwing me off, and I don't know if it's that people will that she's such a great awards consultant. Like, why wouldn't she be able to swing enough votes for a period end of sentence to win? Or are people going to be, the way that they are in this town, jealous, and they're not going to vote for period of end of sentence, even if they think it's a great film, just because Lisa Tabak's a producer on it. Scott Mantz keeping his mouth shut right now.
I'm keeping my mouth shut because I'm going to move on to live action short film. Jeff, what do you got for that one?
I've got Marguerite because it's a lovely name, and I think it's the lightest film of all the films in this category.
How about you, Perri?
I'm going with Marguerite for a similar reason. Again, I cannot recommend all 5 of these films enough, but Marguerite is basically the most drastically different of the bunch. The other 4 they tackle some very serious situations and subject matter, whereas Marguerite is a little more inspiring and hopeful.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with you with both of you for Marguerite, and also because all my friends on Gold Derby have also picked Marguerite. So that is the one. Now we're getting into the really good stuff again. Here we go. Adapted screenplay. The nominations are Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Black Klansman, Can You Ever Forgive Me, If Beale Street Could Talk, A Star Is Born. Perri, what's winning adapted screenplay?
Admittedly, the Can You Ever Forgive Me win at the WGA did throw me for a little bit of a loop, but I'm sticking with the same narrative that I've brought up a couple of times on this show, and I think this is Spike's category to win, and I'm sticking with Black Klansman.
Jeff?
I think the Academy would love to not give it to Spike Lee, but they have to.
Right.
I think that's what's going to happen. Like, if Can You Ever Forgive Me had done Black Klansman business at the box office, Can You Ever Forgive Me would win this Oscar, I think. But I just don't see how you can justify any of these movies winning. They are going to want to give, enough people in the Academy are going to want to give Spike something.
I agree. And I love the movie anyway. I've loved the film ever since it opened in August. And I agree, Spike Lee's nominated 3 places this year for adapted screenplay, director, and picture. He's a producer on the film as well. But I think if he's going to win any of these, and the only one he has a real chance to win is adapted screenplay, and I think he deserves to win. Yeah, I agree with you. The win at the Writers Guild for Can You Ever Forgive Me was awesome. I'm glad that won, but I don't think it's going to sway the Oscars. Original screenplay, The Favorite, First Reformed, Green Book, Roma, Vice. Go, Perri.
I'm going with The Favorite. I think the only 2 really in contention here right now are The Favorite and Green Book, but I am giving the edge to The Favorite for a whole variety of reasons that are too tough to specify in about 5 seconds.
Okay, go, Jeff.
I'll specify them for you. Nick
so you get all the
Vallelonga
screen
and
time.
Pete Farrelly. You totally
Farrelly,
whatever your name is, buddy, you blew it. You had this Oscar in the bag, okay? Green Book is clearly the best movie out of any of these, but the campaign was so bad and they stuck their foots in their mouths so many times. I'm going with The Favorite. I think that they will pull off the upset. My Green Book, that's my heart, but my head says The Favorite.
I am so curious to see if that exact point comes up later in the show.
It's not going to, by the way.
All right. I'll wait until we get there, but that's what I'm thinking.
I'm going with Green Book.
Okay.
Listen, I love The Favorite. I just think it's going to be a year where The Favorite's going to get it. It has a lot of nominations. It has 10 nominations.
So is The Favorite.
I actually didn't pick it to win anything here. Did I?
I picked it to win 2
Ali.
things.
No, I did pick for production design.
you
I picked it for
Green Book or
production design.
Favorite?
The Favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't. I only picked The Favorite to win production design.
Okay.
But I think Green Book. I mean, it did get the Golden Globe. It's a front runner. It won the PGA. I feel like in some way that despite all the kicks this movie has taken, and they put their foot in their mouth for things they said years ago, and it came back to haunt them. But I also think that Academy voters know mudslinging when they see it and hear it, and I still think that Green Book is going to triumph in original screenplay.
Okay.
All right.
Next.
Cinematography, Perri.
Going with Roma. I know Cold War is in the mix, but I have a feeling that was that specific guild honoring him. And I think when you open this award up to the entire Academy, it sways too heavily in Alfonso Cuarón's favor.
All right, Jeff.
Cuarón, Roma.
Yeah, Cuarón, Roma. That's an easy one. All right, original score: Black Panther, Black Klansmen, If Beale Street Could Talk, Isle of Dogs, Mary Poppins Returns. Jeff.
I think that this is where the Academy honors Beale Street, outside of Regina King. I think Nicholas Bertel's score is just so obviously the best work. That's one where, people are predicting either Black Panther or Black Klansman. So I think that this would represent a bit of an upset, Beale Street, but it really is just the work. It's apples and oranges to me.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that Justin Hurwitz didn't get nominated for First Man, where he won that for that score at the Golden Globes and also at the Critics' Choice Awards, I think him not being nominated for an Academy Award opens the door for him for Nicholas Bertel to win for Beale
Panther's
Street.
score was just so forgettable. I can't remember what it sounded like. Black Panther. I know it won the Grammy and everything.
Nah, it's Beale Street. Perri, what do you think?
I was actually thinking I was going to be voting with my heart too much by going with Beale Street, because everything I read keeps saying they're favoring Black Panther right now, but Beale Street is my pick, and I think it would be outrageous if anything else won over it. I think these are great scores here, but Beale Street is on another level. Exactly.
Okay, original song. This one's easy.
Oh, really?
Shallow,
Yeah,
right? Shallow. Let's just move
That's
past
done.
that. Okay, now we're into, this is a biggie. Directing. Okay, the nominations were Black Klansman, Cold War, The Favorite, Roma, and Vice. Jeff, who is winning the Oscar for Best Director?
Alfonso Cuarón, Roma. Come on down.
Okay, Perri.
Do you think I'm going to say anything different?
I know. I mean, come on. It's Cuarón's to lose.
Well, this is the weakest directing lineup in years. Wow. I just can't get over that.
All right. Best Actor, Christian Bale, Bradley Cooper, Willem Dafoe, Rami Malek, Viggo Mortensen, Perri.
I've finally switched. I'm going with Rami Malek.
Yes!
I think this is where Bohemian Rhapsody gets some love, and I think he's going to win it.
Okay, Jeff?
I think the narrative that we were discussing earlier applies here,
Well,
more so than the editing.
I agree with that.
Which is that he's going to be not only rewarded for a great performance, but having, basically come out of the other side of this whole situation that happened during the production of the movie.
This is the hardest category of the night for me. I'm just I know I should be saying Rami Malek, but I can't. I can't for some reason, because I believe in miracles, Scott. I believe in miracles. I'm going to go.
No, you're gonna.
I'm going to go with Bradley
course
Cooper
you are.
for A Star Is
Of
Born.
course
You are definitely. You're voting with your heart, and I love you for that,
I know.
man.
I'm crazy.
You're an old softie,
I just can't hand it over on a platter to this guy.
It ain't happening. It ain't happening.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but are you sure you don't want to revise that bullshit statement, sir?
No.
Way harsh.
No, listen, I can take it. I know it's crazy. And before I was predicting Christian Bale, too. So, part of me just wants to take the field here, but no, you guys can predict Rami Malek.
Well, when Rami Malek
crazy.
wins, Perri and I will say, I told you so. Okay, Perri, what's
fair.
your choice for actress in a lead
Oh,
role?
boy.
Wait, Yalitza Aparicio, Glenn Close, Olivia Colman, Lady Gaga, Melissa McCarthy.
The gap has definitely closed for me with Glenn Close and Olivia Colman. I think it's going to be way closer than I ever thought this entire
No pun
season so
intended.
far. But in the end, I am still leaning towards Glenn Close. I think that narrative and the idea of her taking home a win is just too powerful and strong, and I think the whole Academy knows it.
Well, we got $20 on this one, don't we, Mr.?
I'm sticking with Olivia Colman.
Oh, I'm so glad you are.
Give me a break on this Glenn Close stuff. Yeah, they haven't given it to her before. They're not going to give it to her now.
Nope.
Olivia Colman gets the BAFTA votes, I think, come into account here.
The
and
reason
they give her
I'm
the
happy
edge.
that you're sticking with Olivia Colman, Jeff, is because I'm going to love ripping that $20 bill out of your hand when Glenn Close wins her first Academy
You know
Award.
what? You're going to be
of her
handing it
career.
right back to me 5 minutes later, because we're about to discuss Best Picture.
Oh,
Okay,
boy.
Best Picture. Now, I have actually changed my vote both on Gold Derby.
Bye.
So, you did?
I did.
Oh my
What?
gosh. Well, wait. This is it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last category. This is the big one. Best Picture. everything has led to this moment.
It has.
What is going to win the Oscar for Best Picture this coming Sunday? The last award given out, and we are predicting that win right now.
Find out after the commercial break.
The
No.
nominations. The nominees for Best Picture are Black Panther, Black Klansmen, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, A Star is Born, and Vice, Perri.
This race is down to 2 for me. I have booted out A Star is Born, which I was holding on to for a little while, and it's down to Roma and Green Book. I've had Roma at the top for quite a while now. I think that is over and done with. I'm going with Green Book, largely because of the preferential voting system. I think that's what's going to get this one the win.
Wow, I changed my vote this morning. For the last month, my Best Picture win was for Roma. But after the PGA win, after the Golden Globe win, and the preferential voting system here, which is different from all the other 23 other categories, I changed my vote on Gold Derby this morning. I switched it from Roma to Green Book.
I got that breaking news email from Gold Derby that Scott Mantz had switched and everything. Guys, here's the thing. I don't need PGA awards or Golden Globes or preferential ballots to know what this gut right here is telling me. This is the most important precursor, because that's how I got Crash over Brokeback Mountain. It's how I made money betting on Hurt Locker to beat Avatar, and why I laughed at everyone who thought Gravity was going to be 12 Years a Slave, which was insane.
Okay.
This is what's going to happen. This is what I've been saying for months. It's that Green Book. Yes, Green Book is going to win Best Picture. I know what I said earlier about the screenplay category, but how those guys blew it. That is for an individual accomplishment. I think at the end of the day, the Academy wants to be represented by an incredible film like Green Book. Damn the haters. And Roma, God, I went home this weekend to Boston, and I asked people how many, older folks who, if they'd seen Roma, and all of them were like, oh, I was so bored. And you know what? It's boring. It's a boring, beautiful movie. It's a beautiful coffee table book of a movie.
You got that too?
And you know what?
Get it, Perri?
I didn't get the coffee table. No, but it's not a winner. It's not going to win. Give him the director award. Give him cinematography. But at the end of the day, this Oscar is going home with Green Book.
I know I had Roma at the top of my list. I know I had predicted it to be the winner, but I was voting with my head. My heart always went to Green Book because it was my favorite movie of 2018. Pure and Simple was my #1 favorite of 2018. I love it. I could watch it over and over again. I've already seen it 5 times, and it's an instant classic. It's a Christmas movie. It's a feel-good crowd pleaser, and it has survived all the digs and the nicks and the attacks that have plagued the campaign, and it keeps coming through.
Question.
Yes.
If Roma was distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures and not Netflix,
No.
would it change anything for
No,
you?
if
Okay.
anything, I think the Netflix distribution might have helped Roma because it made it even more accessible.
Okay.
Also, Netflix spent a whole lot of money on this
That
campaign.
they did.
They spent, if Roma was released through a traditional distributor, a traditional studio, I think it would still get foreign film. But would it still get Best Picture? Would it still be one of the 2 movies to beat? I don't think people will be talking about it as much.
Is it the biggest spend ever?
I've read $30 million that Netflix spent.
Okay, but you know what? Other studios have spent that on their movies, so I can't get upset.
But it's different if you're spending it on a movie like Argo or The Revenant or something like that. I mean,
because it's going to make it up at the box office, whereas Roma can't.
I mean, Netflix wants the bragging rights that they have a movie that won Best Picture.
So if it wins Best
Their
Picture,
first movie.
If it wins Best Picture, will we be saying the next morning Roma bought Best Picture, or Netflix bought Best Picture?
I'd be
for
curious
Roma?
to know what Chris Tapley of Variety says, among a whole lot of other people, if Roma does indeed win Best Picture. How did it win? Why did it really win? I mean, is it a boring film like you say, Jeff? Is it boring? Or is it a beautiful, is it a movie that you admire more than you actually love it? And do you vote for it to win Best Picture because it's a bold, admirable, ambitious movie versus a movie that you want to watch over and over and over again like Green Book?
It's about loving it for different reasons, though. It
Right.
might not be a movie that I want to watch over and over again, but it's also a different interpretation of the word slow. Some can look at it as boring, and some can look at it as slow in an effort to make the whole world feel lived. That's why I admire Roma, because everything about that production comes together in a way that makes you feel like you lived in that house with that family, and that's why their journey is so profound. But in terms of the narrative for the next day, it's interesting to think about. I would do anything to see how the Academy Award wins shake out and then have a chart next to it with how much every studio spent on these campaigns.
Oh, well, if you can get that.
Yeah, good luck
I
getting those
wish.
figures.
So that's it.
That's it.
We're voting for Green Book. All three of us are in cahoots.
Put your names on it.
We reserve the right to change our minds before the show. We're gonna be doing a pre-show, right?
Yeah, we're doing the pre-show.
We
our
are.
plans?
So the big rundown for the evening is we are kicking things off with a pre-show. You're going to be able to find the precise times on social media very, very shortly, but we're going to have a pre-show with the three of us. We're going to readjust whatever we have to.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss any last-minute updates. Then we're going to roll into a full live stream. So basically, while you guys sit at home on your TVs and you watch the Oscars, you can also have the Collider live stream on your computer, and during every single commercial break, you're going to get some people at this table, and we're going to tell you what we think about the wins, and then when the whole ceremony wraps up, we're going to be back. All three of us will give you a full recap of the Oscars, how we think everything went. It's going to be a great night. We're going to look all fancy and have a lot of fun.
We're going to have a lot of fun, and that
getting
will,
my hair
truly
did.
be, that will truly be the last episode for this season of Collider FYC.
Is it?
But before we let you go today, ladies and gentlemen, before we let you go
No.
today, we have a very special interview that we did for the documentary feature frontrunners, Free Solo. Of course, the subject, Alex Honnold, but also co-directors Chai Vasarhelyi and Jimmy Chin. We did a really, really good interview that we're going to show you right now. Okay, so this is very exciting. We have the filmmakers here from the Oscar-nominated documentary Free Solo. First, let's start here. Jimmy Chin and Chai Vasarhelyi, the co-directors of Free Solo, and the man himself, Alex Honnold, who climbed El Capitan in Yosemite. He free soloed, and look, he made it.
I made it. You just ruined the movie.
Well, first of all, a lot of congratulations in order here. So the film has made $16 million at the box office, which by documentary standards is like Black Panther. Okay, it's a blockbuster documentary. And also, first of all, another congratulations here. You won the BAFTA award for Best Documentary Feature. First of all, like, how great was that last Sunday when Free Solo won Best Documentary Feature?
It was amazing. I mean, I think it blew all of our minds. I don't think when we began making this film, like covered in dust in Yosemite and very, very worried and concerned about Alex, we ever thought we'd be on stage with like Prince William and just Kate, like, you know, and also surrounded by our peers who were celebrating the film. And so that was just amazing.
How about for you?
Totally surreal. Yeah. I mean, I think that, you know, when you're making films, you're not thinking about awards, and then eventually, you know, we were fortunate enough to be up there on stage, which was actually quite terrifying. That's a very scary room to get in front of.
Oh, for sure. But, you know, the scariest room to get in front of is really back in the beginning of September at these film festivals. You know, it's this trifecta. You got Telluride, Venice, and Toronto. And I was at Telluride when I saw Free Solo for the first time, and it was at a party for First Man where we all met, and Damien Chazelle was saying, "You got to see Free Solo," and I was so glad that I did, because I saw it the very next day, the next morning at Telluride. But like for you, Alex, I mean, like, what have these last 6 months been like for you to have the movie play, to get this kind of reception, and to you know, be sitting here talking about this movie, which you've now done?
That we've done many times now. Yeah, it's been a truly wild ride. I mean, I had no preconception of what a film tour would be like. I mean, I knew nothing about this, knew nothing about the industry, and so this whole experience has just been one outrageous experience. You know, yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it's really incredible to see the film so well received, so warmly received. You know, to see it have such an impact on audiences, and just to see how much it means to people. I mean, you know, it's cool. I mean, I guess, you know, we spent so much time working on the film. I mean, me mostly working on the actual climb, but all of us working together to make the film. You know, it's nice to see that people actually enjoy it.
Well, you're working on the climb. You're working on the film. Like, when did you sort of get hit with the inspiration? When did you get the idea, let's make a movie about this climb?
There is a little overlap when you say I'm working on the climb, they're working on the film. I mean, that's true. We had our roles. But I mean, the thing is, we're all sort of working together. I'm helping carry ropes. They're helping carry ropes. We're rappelling the wall together. I mean, it all feels like a bit of a team effort for the 2 years. I mean, it's really in the post-production where we widely diverge.
Right.
Because, you know, I actually never saw the footage at all. And but through the process of it, I mean, you know, we're all working together.
Yeah, it felt like a climb. It felt like an expedition where we're all working together, and that familiarity of kind of that teamwork was, really critical in terms of how we were able to make the film.
How did that first conversation happen about approaching Alex? Be like, okay, you're going to climb El Cap, free solo. We want to film it.
Well, we were first interested in a character study. We were inspired by the story of Alex as a kid who began free soloing because it was less scary to speak to another person. It was less scary to... We were inspired by the story of Alex as a kid who found it less scary to go out by himself and climb without a rope than to speak to another person. And this idea that he wanted to connect, so he saw other people eating vegetables, so he taught himself how to eat vegetables, he taught himself how to hug. And he worked really, really, really hard. And by doing that, he was able to achieve his dreams. We didn't know about El Cap in the beginning. Alex brought that. He was like, if you want to make a film, there's only one film to make, and that's El Cap, which changed kind of the dimensions of the whole situation because it was scary.
No question about it. Now, when you sort of approach the idea with them about having them film you do this feat, is that something that, you thought it through?
Well, I didn't. I didn't really approach them about filming. It was more, they came to me about making a film, and I was like, if we're making a film, it's going to be about El Cap, just because it's something that I'd been dreaming about for so long, and honestly, I felt like it was the only climb worthy of a feature film. If something's going to be seen on a big screen, it needs to be a big wall. It's like it has to be El Cap.
Well, it's about a lot of things too. It is a character study. You're living in your van. You're developing your relationship with Sani, and the impact it had on her, the sort of single-mindedness to do this, something so dangerous, and you're trying to capture this. It's just as much as your story as it is his. Really, because you're doing the climb from the other end to get everything. But what kind of discussions did you have? Okay, obviously this is something very dangerous. What if things don't end well? And that could mean anything. That could mean you just didn't do the climb, or it just didn't work out, or
that was always the more likely scenario. I think was just not doing the climb. To me, the choices were always between working hard at it and eventually doing it, or not doing it. And then, there's the slight chance of something terrible happening, like actually falling off and dying. But, we had plenty of conversations about the process involved, how much time it would take to prepare and whether or not I'd ever feel comfortable and whether or not I thought it was possible. But, we never really had many conversations about what happens if I fall off. Because the whole point of all the effort was to make sure I didn't fall off.
Of course. Yeah. But that first attempt that you make, you don't do it. You don't go all the way. What was the difference between waking up that morning and waking up the morning where you did it? Fast, I might add.
I think the main difference was just with the level of preparation. Both mornings I woke up and got ready, went climbing. Objectively, the two mornings are actually very similar. It's just that the first morning I just hadn't quite put in all the groundwork. I hadn't put in the effort. I wasn't totally prepared. I didn't feel quite as confident because I knew that I wasn't quite as prepared. But I was kind of hoping that I'd make it through the bottom parts that I didn't know as well. And then I knew the upper part pretty well. So I was like, if I can make it through, then it should be okay. Whereas on my successful attempt, I knew that it was as good as it was ever going to be, and that it was the time.
What were the more challenging parts for you? Because obviously his challenges are different than yours.
I think it goes back to an earlier question, and that was kind of the ethical dilemma that we were facing about the potential outcomes. We had to have all of those conversations before we committed to the production. And, we had a lot of conversations with Alex up to a certain point, but part of the job and one of the challenges was, we really wanted to kind of protect Alex's space and kind of insulate him from our concerns and the pressures of production, et cetera. But within the production, between Chai and I we were having a lot of discussions about this. What are the potential outcomes? How are we going to deal with it? How do we feel about, can we live with some of these outcomes? And then are there ways in which we can approach the production and the filmmaking in a way that we can live with the different outcomes?
And in a way, these conversations, I think, really also demanded and allowed us to bring our best. In the same way that Alex perfected the craft he was pursuing, and that he trained for 2 years. We were training alongside him, and the stakes were just so high that there was no margin for error. So even in like the act of filming and the act of producing, everything was mindful and always aspiring to try to do justice to this incredible feat that he was, dreaming of doing.
When you made that climb, like the day that you did it, the thing that struck me from the first viewing, 5 times now, the thing that struck me from the first viewing was the confidence. Confidence is infectious. People love what other people are passionate about. You did that climb fast. Like, what changed between, other than the obvious that you were just, more physically prepared, but what changed between the first attempt and the second attempt?
Well, I mean, that's really it. I mean, the extra preparation leads to greater confidence. I mean, I don't think that there was anything that fundamentally changed. It was just that I was 6 months further down this path of preparation and training and visualization and just all the things that went into it. I just continued down that path for 6 more months, and I was there. And I think that because I had that much more preparation, I just felt that much more confident. I went into it. It all just felt better.
So on that morning when you did the climb, when you first get to the base and you look up right before you're about to start
climbing,
what is going through your mind, and what's going through your mind at that same time?
I mean, for me, it's hard to say. I mean, it's complicated. So as I walked up to the wall, I was walking the length of El Cap, looking up at the wall, and it did cross my mind that it's a really big wall. And even though I felt very confident, I knew that I was prepared, everything was in place. I was ready to free solo El Cap. I still looked at the wall and was like, that is a tremendously large wall. It's outrageous. But then I think that once I actually had my shoes tied and was, chalked up and starting the climb, that's when it went more blank and I was just climbing. At that point I wasn't really thinking, what a big wall anymore. I was just thinking, one move at a time. Here we go. I'm climbing.
What was that moment like for you while he's looking at the wall going, this is a big wall? What's going through your mind?
I think we both felt a lot of tension and, but we were kind of thinking about different things. In some ways, I felt like Chai's, experience might have been more scary because she could see, she was on the ground.
So
and she
I was on the ground. So
thing.
I'm next to Mikey, who can't watch. And I just remember waking up in that morning and feeling like everything. And I'd spoken to Sonny the night before. But then we had this one member of our team, Jim Hurst, he came to pick me up and he looked at me and he's like, this is going to be a great day. We're about to witness something amazing. And in that moment, I was like, you're right. That's why we're here. We're here because we believe in Alex and we admire and respect this idea of a life of intention. And, those 3 hours and 56 minutes, they were terrifying. I think we quit several times in that time. Jimmy and the guys are hanging off, the mountains they can't really see, but they're relying on us as eyes to tell them where Alex is. And then, we thought we'd anticipated everything. And then Alex goes 45 minutes faster than planned.
45 minutes faster than planned. Geez, man.
Not even planned.
Well, to be fair, there wasn't really a plan. I was just going up and climbing.
Well, we had made calculations of what was the fastest time anybody had ever climbed that route, which was Alex and Tommy
doing it.
Yeah, and then so we thought, okay, well, if this is the fastest time he's ever climbed it, we'll even shave off some more time for the potentiality that he moves faster. He was 45 minutes faster than that time.
Yeah, I can see how that
But
actually.
I would say that the beginning, for the morning of, I've worked with Alex and climbed with Alex for 10 years, and I felt solid about Alex, and I know that he wouldn't go up there unless he was feeling like 100% or 99.999. You can't even get in a car without being at 99%, right?
Sure.
Anything can happen. But I would say that there was a lot of tension about the execution. There was so much to think about on our, with the high angle team and how we were going to shoot and how we had choreographed all the movements of everybody, how to make sure all the ropes were out of the way when he came through or while we were filming. So, we were, in some ways, obviously we weren't free soloing El Cap, but we were in that state of mind where it was about execution. It was, no room for distraction, no room, no margin of errors allowed. And so, there was tension, but it was more some butterflies about like, okay, we have to execute perfectly.
So when you're doing the climb, you're obviously very much in the moment, no distractions.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go back and you watch the film for the first time, like, was there something that struck you about something that you did, a reaction that you had that made you go, interesting, I did that, or I said that, or I made that move? You know what I mean? Like you may not be aware of it while you're doing it, but when you go back and watch it as a third person, maybe something.
No, on the climb itself, there wasn't anything that surprising. I mean, I remember all the main points, and honestly, I think the film really captures the feeling of it well. I think that when I watch the film, it does put me right back into the same emotional state of how it felt to climb the wall. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the climbing it just reminds me of this amazing experience.
So how do you get down?
That's the easiest question. You just run down the side.
It's really just that easy?
I mean, it's like a scramble down the side and then a few rappels. So there's some ropes at the end. But basically, it's like a very, very steep trail and then some scrambling.
So the sequel is not going to, be nearly as exciting as the original.
No free solo 2.
No free solo
No,
2.
I don't know if we could.
Yeah, we're good.
Yes, we're good. We're good.
This isn't it's not a franchise?
No, not a franchise.
I do want to ask.
What do you have in mind, Alex?
I don't know.
Okay.
When people who are climbers who have not free soloed, because there were a couple of Q&As we did where a lot of people in the audience were climbers.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say they come up to you and say, I want a free solo, what's your advice? Would you say, yeah, here's my advice, here's how you do it? Or would you say, yeah, you might want to, I don't know if I would advise someone else.
Well, no, I mean, I would just say follow your heart, but do it very carefully. I mean, if people want a free solo, I mean, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with that. As long as you do it carefully, you prepare for it, you make sure that you're ready and that you do it well. I mean,
well, you did this well, and the movie is nominated for Best Documentary Feature at the Academy Awards, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming into Collider to talk about Free Solo.
our pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.